all okay with you, and I am starting the recording now. Thanks to those who have written down and introduced themselves already in the chat box. As I mentioned, my name is Ricarda, and I will be guiding us through this webinar today. It's a webinar on a call for project proposals on global citizenship education, and you will be hearing more about this later. But before we start, I would like to ask you all to participate in this poll. We are wondering if you have already experience in the Bridge 47 subgranting program and the call, so we can also adjust our presentations and our sharing of information. So I see the poll, and 50% of you have already participated. Few more seconds, so let us know. Wonderful. No? Okay. So I can see that most of you do not have experiences in the subgranting call. Okay. So thanks so much for participating in this very quick poll. So therefore, I hope that this webinar will be also very useful for you. So before we start with the presentations, I would like to give you a very quick introduction. Who are we actually? Who is Bridge 47? Who is actually giving this call out? So Bridge 47 is a project co-created and implemented by 15 European, but also global civil society organizations. And our aim is to contribute to a transformation towards global justice through global citizenship education. So what we do is we are creating and coordinating a global network. We are working in advocacy, changing policies or influencing policies. We are building new partnerships, but also, building the capacities. So what we are doing in particular regarding capacity building is to raise capacities of global citizenship education practitioners. So one part of this is this call for project proposals. And in this project proposal call, we are looking for innovative and experimental projects that help us to build our understanding of how we actually can facilitate transformative change through global citizenship education. So what can you expect today? At the very beginning, we will be hearing a short report. Our previous subgrantee will be sharing experiences of how it was to participate in this call in the past. And then our colleague Marian will give you a short presentation of what is this call actually about. He's the national, I can see there's a typo. He's the national officer of Bridge 47 in Slovenia. And then afterwards, three of our colleagues will introduce to you the priority areas of this call. So Jakub will be speaking about the priority area A of innovation. He's the national officer of Slovakia. Maeve will be speaking about partnerships. She's the partnerships coordinator of Bridge 47. And then Megan will be speaking about the priority area C, about measuring. And at the end, hopefully, we will have a lot of time for your questions and your thoughts. So, by the way, if you have questions already, please type them in your chat box. I will be in the chat box on the right-hand side. I will be collecting them and forwarding to our colleagues. So before I can see there's a question already. Could we receive this presentation through email? Of course you can. We will forward this to you as I have all your email addresses. So very quickly before I'm handing over to my colleagues and to our previous subgrantee, quick information about our previous call. So this call was out already once. So what happened in our previous call is that we had 17 projects in 9 countries supported. And these were mainly going and supporting smaller organizations. Looking at the stats, 8,533 people who have directly participated through the activities, but of course, we are also reaching people indirectly. So there were almost 300,000 people indirectly reached through online and social media communication. Common target groups were, yes, communities, youth, civil society organizations, academia, and multipliers. These 4 types of projects were typically supported: community projects, activist projects, and experimental projects. So, and this already leads me to, yes, our experiences from our previous subgrantee, Nicoletta. I can see Nicoletta is online already. She's from Cyprus, and she was involved in a project by the Lacana Cultural Foundation for Children and Youth and Sistema Cyprus, which implemented the Global Citizenship Orchestra. And now, before I'm asking Nicoletta to come online, I am sharing with you a video, because I think this is the best way to show and present what was done in this project. And I hope that technicalities will work now. So, and now I would like to invite Nicoletta to come online and tell us, what did you do? What was your project about? And yeah, what was the aim of your project? And further, I would like to ask you, what would you recommend? What type of organizations would you recommend this grant, what we are talking about today, to? So I hope you're able to come online now.
Hello.
Ah, perfect. It works. Thank you. Hello. Thanks, Nicoletta, for being here.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me or if you will not see me.
We can hear you and we can see you. Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I will be quickly, because I know that you have a lot of things to listen to today. Very happy to meet you all, and I wish you a good luck. It was a very nice experience for us. I will tell you very quickly what we did. While we are working our programs in Larnaca and also Sistema Cyprus, both the Cultural Foundation and also Sistema Cyprus, we are working with music education anyway in our everyday activities are like this. What we did with Bridge, we proposed the implementation of a civic education program, that we had a series of music education workshops and musical instruction, also the orchestra performance of 80 children. We had children from more than 15 countries, immigrants, refugees that live in shelters, that they are unaccompanied, Cypriots, and also children that live in shelters, and generally children from low income camp families. And we had at the end a concert. We ran also civic education workshops during these 3 months. You can find more if you see the whole video. You can understand more about the whole concept. What I want to say that is most important for you now is that if this program, the Bridge 47, is a very good opportunity for smaller organizations, and this is very good because we don't see it very often in the EU projects. For me, especially the way I perceive the EU projects is that usually it's only for the bigger organizations, but this is actually a chance that the smaller organizations that sometimes do really very important work to be acknowledged, and also to have the opportunity to have a funding and be supported by the EU. So I really admire this, and I really like this. So if what you are doing, if the work you are doing fits in the Global Citizenship Education, I strongly suggest that you apply for this subgranting, as it can be a great opportunity for you. Be honest, write from your heart this proposal, as we did. Write what you want to achieve. Be true, because I know it's not long time of period, so be true to what you want to make. And I really wish you the best. It was a great experience for us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Nicoletta, for sharing your experience and encouraging others to submit projects which are as valuable as yours. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Bye-bye.
coming.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
So, yes. So what is the background? What are the practicalities behind this call? What is the aim of this call? So I would like to invite my dear colleague Marian to come online now and tell us what it is all about. And I can see that there are already quite a lot of questions, or some questions in the group chat. So I am collecting them, and some of them might be already answered by the presentations. If not, I will be coming back to this afterwards. Thanks for your patience.
Hi, Ricarda. Hi, everyone. First of all, let me apologize due to the technical issues, and you cannot see me. But still, I hope that actually the short summary of the call should answer to some of your questions, or otherwise I will do my best together with other colleagues actually to answer in the Q&A time frame actually foreseen. As Ricarda already mentioned, this call for proposals is actually inviting innovative and experimental projects that would help us building our understanding on how to facilitate transformative change through or using global education or global citizenship education, as the topic is called in your country. Well, what we are foreseeing through that call is that we would like to have innovative and experimental projects concerning the format, content, methodology, learning materials, learning spaces, etc. More about that you would hear from colleague Jakub. Then another area of application might be innovative and or experimental regarding target groups or educational actors and partners involved. More about that, it would be the colleague Maeve speaking more in details, what would be the expectations. And of course, the last area that we are targeting with this call for proposals is actually innovative and experimental regarding the evaluation, reflection, and impact assessment of your educational activities that have already happened or are ongoing by using the Bridge 47 framework for measuring the activities at local or national level. More in details, you will be able to get the information from Megan, colleague working on that. So, what to have in mind when planning the projects. Of course, project value shouldn't be, well, should be maximum 7,000 euros. You would be requested to co-finance the project with at least 5%, which should come from non-EU sources. Deadline, as you are aware, most probably is the 18th of November, and please pay attention to Central European time, because midnight and as an unpleasant experience, during the last call we have received actually a couple of applications, even some minutes after midnight, which were then rejected and not put into, or not allowed actually to continue with further evaluation. The practice will continue. That's why we are pointing this out. Please pay attention. Midnight Central European time. Then project implementation period, 6 months. Project should start with the 1st of January and would need to end by the 30th of June. Then the reporting period would be determined within the contract, but you should expect somewhere like end July or beginning of August, or the latest mid-August due to our further reporting. The selection procedure. There will be a 2-level selection procedure. What will be assessed is written in the guidelines, but very shortly: extent of innovative potential, impact and research of the project, relevance of the project and reference to the Bridge 47, relevance of the project for the local or national community, and value for money and cost effectiveness, of course. Those are the 4 areas that would be assessed by 2 different groups of evaluators. Then we will strive to publish the selected projects, project list actually by the 18th of December. So there might be, or should be, time to send you the draft contracts for the selected projects, of course, by the end of this year, so that you can start the implementation really as early as possible in January 2020. So, to continue, what else should be pointed out? Yeah, human resources related costs have to be direct costs. Please pay attention to that. To the project via separate service contract or an addendum to the current employment contract to cover work related to the project. It is well explained in the and pointed out in the guidelines, as well in the budget template. Please pay attention to that. As an experience, during the last call, there has been some applications rejected because not respecting that mentioned, and actually because they've been including HR cost of the organization staff directly. Then what else? All the selected projects will have also some obligations. They would need actually to be at the disposal to the, and for any kind of questions to the bridge related people covering subgranting, but as well to the evaluator, specifically after the evaluation, after the implementation, pilot projects implementation phase. There will be a couple of pilot projects will be selected by the evaluator, who would then contact those people, and according to the contract template, you would be obliged actually to cooperate and to provide the information about the, perhaps a bit more in details, to the evaluator if being selected. Then what else? Complete project applications consist of, bear this in mind, the mentioned templates or attachments actually. All documents needs to be submitted within the same email. Failing to do so will most probably result in rejection of your application. So please pay a lot of attention to that you would send all the required documents within the same email, within one email, which would be sent before the deadline. And submission of application should be electronically to the mentioned email. And please respect the subject SGM2, your country name and abbreviation of the project. It should be short, couple of words or a couple of letters, whatever, just that we would, well, it would ease our work. Further information about the call. Of course, there will be, as mentioned in the guidelines, myself and colleague Jakub, who would be responding, but primarily, and it would be the easiest way, actually, if you would first direct your questions to the national officers. There are the organizations you might know in your country that are national partners to the Bridge 47 project, actually, who should primarily answer to your question. If your question would not be answered in the way you would like, well, you can further ask Jakub or myself, but bear in mind that if we would receive many questions, we would not be able to assure very accurate answers to your questions just due to our human capacities. Well, to get more involved in the Bridge 47, there are as well some of the possibilities through different channels where you can gather more information actually what we are doing within the project if somebody is unsure, and that's it for the moment. I just hope that actually you would have a successful and inspiring project preparation, and that we would be able to receive as many project applications as possible, because that would, of course, mean a lot of work for us for the evaluation, but as well, actually, you can have in mind that on the second call, like Ricarda presented, the first subgranting call, actually, we have selected 17 projects. Through this call for proposals, we are hoping actually to select, or we are planning to select 24 projects. Well, since I'm quite long, I plan to stop at that moment, or here actually, and after the colleagues' presentation, should continue answering to some of your questions. Ricarda, back to you.
Thank you so much, Marian. Thanks for this wonderful introduction to the call. I can see that a few participants are joining later, so in particular, hello Stola. We are gathering the questions in the chat box. There are a few questions already, and we will be coming back to those after the presentations of the colleagues. So thanks a lot, Marian, and now I'm handing over to our kind colleague, Jakub.
Thank you, Ricarda. Hi, everybody. So I should be giving you a little guide through the first priority area of the call for proposals, which is innovation. What we mean by innovation is pretty much innovation in practice of doing global citizenship education. So this is your, I don't want to say traditional because they should be innovative, but it's the actual doing of GCE. So educational practices. not partnership making and not evaluation, which will come after me. As Marian was already mentioning, we have broken down innovation into 5 areas. You can find these in the guidelines. So we would like you, or we would like the projects which are sent to us to be innovative, at least in one or in combination of these areas. So we're looking for innovations in format of doing global citizenship education. So you can combine their different things. You can do this online, you can do this offline, you can do this in public, you can do this with different target groups. So the structure of the project can be innovative in itself. Then we're looking for innovation in content. This means we're looking for the most relevant stories that showcase what being global citizen means today. We're looking for the most relevant experiences. We're looking for most relevant narratives which showcase what transformation the globe and people need to go through for us to achieve sustainable development. A very good showcase of this was the Cyprus project, which was presented earlier. Then we're looking for innovations in methodology. So pretty much the ways of how you transfer your knowledge or how you transfer the narratives and the stories to your target group. So for example, our colleagues from Cyprus did this through music, which was very interesting and very inspiring. We're also looking for innovation in learning materials. So as you know, like traditionally we're people who use brochures for everything, you know, a lot of paper and a lot of, I don't know, guidelines and stuff. We're looking maybe for something more fresh. As you know, digital media are getting into educational mainstream right now. Games are getting into educational mainstream right now. So these are the types of things that are a little different and could be interesting as innovations in learning materials. And then also learning spaces is the last area where we are looking for innovation. So it's pretty much the spaces, the physical spaces, or maybe online spaces where you will implement your project. So will this be on Zoom on the cloud, or will this be in community gardens in Dublin? It's up to your choice, but some of the projects that we already received last year were quite innovative in actually picking the most interesting spaces that we didn't think about where GCE could take place. Also, Marian mentioned this. We're looking for innovative but also experimental projects. What this means is that you don't necessarily, well, you can write a project and use some ideas that you already seen somewhere and would like to use them in your organization, and you still think that these are not used enough or used not in a proper way, or you can experiment. So if you have some idea that you haven't yet had the time or space to test out, or you want to, try something new, you can also do some kind of startup activity. So to test whether something works or doesn't work. We are not as policing and as strict about this. So like if the activity doesn't work 100%, but it has been like testing something new, it's also very relevant for us, because on that experience we can build further. Maybe as I'm speaking, you're thinking that I'm quite vague and I'm not too concrete, and that's on purpose. We're trying to give you as much freedom as we can in terms of thinking about innovations and thinking about your context and what your organization is good at and wants to experiment and innovate in. So feel free and feel creative when writing the proposals. We're very much looking forward to those. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jakob. Thanks for, inspiring us also what innovation could be and experimental could be looking like. Thanks a lot. And I'm already handing over to our colleague Maeve. She will be speaking about the priority area B on partnerships. Thank you, Maeve.
Thanks, Ricarda. Hi, everyone. It's great to see that so many of you are interested in our subgranting. So for those of you that are interested in applying for section B, which is the focus on partnerships, just to say a few words beyond the guidelines that are there already. So within Bridge 47, we ourselves are working on partnerships, and part of our mandate is to encourage other partnerships for those practicing GCE, to deepen GCE where it already exists and to bring it to new areas where it doesn't exist. And we see partnership as a great mechanism to do that. So our criteria for the subgrants specifically is basically to have a CSO practitioner, probably somebody working on GCE, be the actual applicant for the partnership grant. But part of the grant work would be a partnership activity for them. So they act as the lead, but they're engaging others in the activity. And we're really keen to see partnerships between GCE practitioners and those who have typically not engaged in GCE in any way, which is often more difficult, but kind of pushes us to experiment and to get out of our bubble, to all of the points that Jakob very articulately described a few moments ago. So it can be experimental. It can be, if your organization has always said, oh, we really should get in a room with taxi drivers, this is the grant to try that out. We're quite keen to see some out-of-the-box partnerships here. So we're particularly interested in GCE practitioners and groups like the private sector, trade unions, media, police, military, etc. But obviously the interpretation of out-of-the-box is slightly open to whomever is applying for this. In terms of the activities that we would want to see the applicants work in partnership on, it's really, really broad, and it can be, as long as there's a clear goal of the partnership, the activities are entirely up to you guys in terms of how are you advancing GCE and how are you advancing the goal of the partnership. So the kind of projects that we're working on within our own GCE partnerships are things like training, events. We're developing an online game in one partnership, but it can also be quite straightforward work in terms of embedding GCE into an organization's policies or their work. Or we have other examples of organizations that are membership based, both sides sort of bringing their members together to try and encourage other partnerships. So while the activities are really broad, and we're hoping that the types of partnerships that we can see will be truly kind of new and innovative in the GCE context, we're also just hoping for quality applications and real creativity in terms of how two organizations can come together and find common ground in the context of GCE. So maybe I've said enough about that there, and if there are questions, I can answer them later on when we're doing our Q&A. I think I'm passing back to Ricarda now, or maybe I'm passing directly on to Megan, who is going to talk about the other category of subgrants. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Ricarda. Thanks, Maeve. I also wanted to give a brief update on our introduction to the advocacy work that's not in the guidelines. So advocacy is a whole outcome of the Bridge project, and we have an overall aim that global citizenship education would be included in Agenda 2030 or Sustainable Development Goals strategies at a national and European level. And while we were trying to come up with how we might do that, how we might influence our national governments or local partners, we were told by our members in our consortium and our global network that it's really hard to measure and evaluate the work on global citizenship education, particularly in the non-formal sector. And without being able to capture this in a way that is easily digestible for policymakers, it makes it difficult to advocate for why it should be included in their national plans. So that's why we commissioned some work on proposing a framework for monitoring the work of Sustainable Development Goal Target 4.7, of which global citizenship education is one of the educations listed. So on the slide, you'll be able to click through to a link to our website, and there are 3 papers that outline this framework, and it's paper 3. That which is pictured on the right-hand side of the slide. That's the paper that has the actual proposed framework, and the annex is the chart and explains the method of how to gather work on non-formal education. The framework is also designed to gather work on formal education, but for the purposes of the subgranting, we would like to see projects suggested that are informal or non-formal. So for this framework, it's new. It's only published this week. We don't know. We haven't had the ability to test it on real projects, which is what we want to fund through this subgrant. So we're looking for applicants that are already doing work in global citizenship education, that could do something like the video we saw at the beginning and would like to evaluate it using this framework. So it should be something that's already running or has shortly finished, not something that's new. Yeah, we're looking for the non-formal space. So that could be youth groups or communities or activism or digital programs that you're doing, or basically anything that isn't complementing a national curricula. And the types of things that can be funded with this is like the other projects, but specifically we can fund external consultants to carry out this evaluation and use this framework on behalf of your organization and work. So, and we're not, as Jakob said, we're not looking for perfect completion of how to use the framework, but rather what's your experience of using it and how feasible it was or how useful it was. So we're looking for the learning rather than the outcomes, but we also want to know the outcomes as well. And that's all from me.
Thanks so much, Megan. Megan, I can see that there's a question to you already. Can you copy the link to the framework document in the chat box? This would be very
I will do that.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So this brings us already to the Q&A session. Thank you so much to all the dear colleagues for these presentations. Before I'm starting to collect new questions, I am coming back to the ones which were posted already in the chat box. So maybe I would like to ask Marian to respond to the question regarding countries and target groups. So there were 2 questions: if Norway and North Cyprus are eligible for the call, as well as regarding target groups, are public service employees as well as trade unions possible target groups for the call.
Yeah, hi, Ricarda.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for the questions. Concerning the countries, Norway is unfortunately not an eligible country. For the North Cyprus, well, I have not expected, and I'm afraid we have not thought of this question, unfortunately. I would not like actually to provide an answer right now, but would promise. Sorry, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Yes?
Okay.
Okay.
There's an echo, but anyway. Concerning the North Cyprus, I've promised that actually we would get back by tomorrow with that answer, because it depends from the national partner from Cyprus if they're actually covering as well the northern part of Cyprus. Then the answer most probably would be yes. Otherwise, I would be afraid that actually the answer might be no, but I would really not like to speculate. I'm just trying to make the links between Ireland and Northern Ireland, where actually the partner from the Ireland is covering the whole island territory, well, organizations from the whole island. So that's why our specific decision there was to allow as well the Northern Irish organizations. For the North Cypriot, the answer should should get back to you by tomorrow. Concerning the target groups, civil servants, of course, could be a target group. Concerning the trade unions, if I'm not wrong, I noticed the question if the trade unions are, what was the exact question? Are also eligible and welcome to apply in this Bridge 47 call for project proposals. Well, trade unions would be, of course, among the target groups if they could apply. Well, I don't know the legislation in all of the partner countries, but actually if they comply with actually requirement number A and B, and specifically the A, that they are registered as non-profit, non-governmental organization in one of the Bridge 47 partner countries. So if they are, then they could apply.
Thank you. I hope this answers these questions. And maybe, Marian, I will keep you in the line to respond to the next question. If an intern actually can be a project manager or coordinator. This comes from Gulnara, who was also the one who asked who was asking regarding North Cyprus. So can an intern be a project manager or coordinator?
Of course, could be. But the question would be actually how, if the intern would like to get paid as a project manager, because there are some limitations. And please bear in mind that human resource related costs have to be direct costs to the project via separate service contract or an addendum to the current employment contract to cover work related to the project. So could be, but pay a specific attention, not just saying, well, part of somebody employed within the organization, part of his time would be dedicated to that project, as we are usually used to.
Thanks a lot, Marian. I don't know if you would like to continue with the next question, or maybe Jakub would like to answer the question from Anna. This was also a question regarding staff costs. So could you clarify how staff costs can be funded? For example, if someone is working part-time, can some of the budget be used for that person to work extra days for 5 months or so to facilitate this project?
Yes, I think as Marian mentioned already, the staff costs or salaries are not eligible as parts of the project. So you really are disencouraged to think about staff costs as salaries. Of course, there is a possibility to have contracts with contractors with in this type of framework. You can pay actually people for some services that they would provide for the project, but this is the only form how you can pay people money. But it cannot be framed as salary in the budget or in the project.
Thanks. I hope this clarifies these questions so far. Then I will continue with a question or a comment from Alain. They are working, or they are an outdoor project in Ireland, and they're seeing a series of outdoor camping learning events based in Cork. And they could do this with a partner, and we have a strong trade union tie, but are a community supported agriculture with members. Reading out Elaine's question. Sorry if I mixed up the sentences a little bit. So colleagues, I don't know who would like to answer here. Maybe Jakub again. Do you see this as a possible applicant or even maybe a target group for the call? So it's outdoor camping learning event.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it sounds interesting. It looks interesting. Outdoor project, outdoor camping, learning events, and partnering with trade unions. I mean, I don't see it as a project, but if it could be made into something that has a structure, it looks interesting. So I would encourage this to become a project. For now, it's a peculiar combination. I would like to see it develop.
It's Maeve here. If I could just contribute a little bit more, just from the partnership standpoint, I think we're encouraging those to apply for the partnership lot where kind of partnership or engaging with a new stakeholder group is the goal, or working in partnership will facilitate the activity that you want to do. But it's definitely it's definitely not if what you're doing is sort of innovative on its own, and you feel the need to bring in a partner for it to be the partnership lot, I would encourage people to think carefully about which lot they want to apply for between the different categories, and when it's kind of pure innovation, it doesn't necessarily need to have a partnership component to it unless that's quite natural, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Maeve. And exactly. So this one looks like more of a partnership type of project. If there's no special innovation involved in learning events, then this is very innovative in terms of providing educational events for an interesting target group. Right.
Wonderful. Lovely ideas. Thank you so much. We still have a few more minutes, so please add your questions to the chat box. In the meantime, another question came from Agnes. She asked if we can focus our project on only one of the subdomains of GCE, such as gender, equality, human rights education, or so focusing only on one of the subdomains. Who would like to respond? Yes.
This is an easy one. Sure, of course. Like we're concentrating on GCE and value-based educations, and these are 7,000 euro projects. So if it helps you be more coherent and more to the point, that's great. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have another question from Scott, probably. So can you partner with another NGO with the view to taking on a third private partner organization eventually? So is this maybe a partnership question to Maeve?
Yeah, I can take this one. I think Well, we wouldn't rule out NGO partnerships. We're really trying to encourage experimentation, and as you know, as part of these small grants to actually bring GCE to new audiences via the mechanism of partnership. So of course, without knowing the full design of what you have in mind, maybe the structure of it being one-on-one partnership, of course, we're flexible about whether it's two organizations with an external or whatever. But I would keep in mind the objective of a partnership being with a non-GCE practitioner. I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Thank you. So, any other questions?
Perhaps Ricarda, Marian speaking. If I may, just while I'm waiting actually for some other questions actually. There has been some questions that has been already sent via email before the webinar, and might be of an interest actually of as well for today participants. Well, there was a question actually if can Bridge 47 co-fund a project that is already funded by a specific national public institution as a contribution to their own share. Well, we expect to receive a small project initiative, which budget should be maximum 7,000 euros. And our answer was, if your project proposal has been part of a bigger project initiative, you can present it as a separate small project. Subgranting is not meant to be used for financing other projects. So please respect the maximum amount of 7,000 euros for a project. Then there was another question actually. Well, we are a small organization, well, NGO, with 4 people working part-time, and don't have an annual activity report, which is a mandatory attachment to the application. Can we apply without it? And since activity report for the previous year is a mandatory attachment to the application, we cannot actually send, we will not be able to send the application without the activity report to further evaluation. But please keep in mind that the form of activity report is not prescribed, so it should look like according to your own preferences. And the evaluation committee will also not be able to check if the activity report covers all implemented activities of your organization. So still, the activity report will create kind of an image about the how your organization's how experienced it is in organizing and implementing the proposed activities. So keep please this in mind. And just another important information, when you will be carefully reading the guidelines, you would notice that one of the activity foreseen as part of the pilot project implementation is foreseen as well so-called design thinking event, which will happen actually in May or June 2020. For your information, you don't need to budget the participation, which will most probably be in Bratislava or in Ljubljana, specifically or separately from the project budget. So you don't need to include the participation there into the project budget. It will be funded separately of the subgranting 7,000 euro funding. That's all from my side for the moment.
Thank you, Marian. There was a similar question regarding other project funding. Agnes asked if there's already an approved project with EU funding, would it be possible to add extra with the bridge subgranting to it? I guess this was already answered by Marianne's elaboration, or maybe Marianne, very quickly, would you like to get back to that question? Maybe repeat it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, actually. Well, you're obliged, every applicant is actually obliged to co-fund project application by 5%, which should come out of EU funding. The project maximum value shouldn't be, should be 7,000 euros or less. So I can hardly imagine how you would actually combine it with other EU projects. You can actually, well, it is meant to support small innovative initiatives, but small meaning not unimportant. Very important small innovative initiatives in the area of development education. And development of material or any other activity could be one of the activities. So I hope it answers to that question.
Thanks a lot, Marianne. And yes, I don't see any further questions in the chat box. So, oh no, just Alain just sent another message. So talking about the outdoor learning event, it would bring focus on bringing GCE to a new audience. Our project offer is more the setting and the outdoor experiential learning with a focus on building confidence and communication. Activities such as group decision-making, cooking on open fires, health and safety, caring for the group. Thank you so much, Alain, for further explaining your wonderful initiatives and activities you're doing. And as colleagues have already pointed out, this is for sure something very innovative and can be very well turned into a project. So let's think about that further. Thanks, Alain. And I am having a look at the time. So we are about to end this webinar. So if you have any burning questions and still things on your mind which weren't answered during this call, so please type them in now very quickly. Otherwise, there is of course also the opportunity to contact colleagues via email. In the meantime, if you're still typing, I would like to announce our next two webinars. We will be having a webinar on the 12th of November on the framework for monitoring and measuring SDG 4.7. You can already register through that webinar and find further information on the Bridge 47 website. And on the 11th of December on building partnerships. You've heard loads about that with from Maeve today already, as well as from the measuring and monitoring side from Megan. So I don't see any further questions. So I'm coming to the end of this webinar now. Thank you so much for this, for your participation and your very interesting questions. And we would like to hear, of course, what you were thinking about our webinar. So please take the time to respond to this evaluation form. It only takes a few minutes. I will send it out via email as well. And yes, thank you so much for participating, and we wish you, a lot of success and a lot of fun in preparing the project proposal, of course, but also in implementing the project. You can see, the link to the call here again, as well as to the email contacts from our two call coordinators. Yes, so that's for me. Thank you so much also to our kind colleagues for joining and presenting all your great work, what you're doing. And yes, thank you so much. Have a good day, and thanks for being here. Thanks
everyone. Thanks, Ricarda.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ricarda. Bye-bye. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.